All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jonathan Kinney. I am the State Historic Preservation Officer for the state of Connecticut, and I would like to welcome you all to the first of a series of meetings that we will be hosting to inform the development of Connecticut's next statewide historic preservation plan, which is intended to provide guidance for effective decision-making about historic property preservation throughout the state. My role this evening is to provide you with a brief overview of the State Historic Preservation Plan, what is important, what it is, I'm sorry, why it is important, where we are in the process, and where we are headed. I would like to begin by thanking you all for taking the time to be here this evening. One of SHPO's key responsibilities in taking the lead on the development of this plan is to ensure that it is built upon a broad and robust public engagement strategy. It is this engagement that will ensure that we are considering a wide range of issues, threats, opportunities, resource types, and community concerns, and that the plan will be relevant to and usable by all of Connecticut's residents. Your participation is absolutely critical to the success of this overall planning effort. To that end, this is going to be an interactive meeting. Along the way, you'll be prompted to answer several questions using your computer or mobile device, however you're tuning in. There will also be a Q&A portion at the end of the meeting so that we can address any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. As I said, I'm Jonathan Kinney with the State Historic Preservation Office, which is part of the state's Department of Economic and Community Development. I'm joined this evening by my colleague and Deputy State Historic Preservation Officer, Jenny Schofield, who you will meet in a few minutes. But at the moment, I'm going to just quickly turn it over to our moderator, Tony from FHI, who's going to go into just a little bit of detail on how you can participate in the meeting and how to go about answering the questions that come up. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Jonathan. Tony Marie Pignatelli, and I'm going to just start with a brief introduction to the format of tonight's meeting. So all participants in the meeting will be on mute and will have their video cameras off. The meeting is being recorded, so if you do not wish to be part of a recorded meeting, we understand that and encourage you to just go ahead and disconnect. Many of you are familiar with Zoom, no doubt, but I'll briefly review a few tips to help you navigate the meeting tonight. To preserve bandwidth and have a smoother virtual experience, you may want to close other programs that are running on your computer. If you have any issues at all with Zoom throughout the meeting, you can reach out to Sarah Grossman. Sarah is our technical support person who's here to assist you. You can contact Sarah by using the Zoom chat feature and sending a message to the technical host. You can also email Sarah at sgrossman@fhistudio.com if you need help technical assistance. If during the meeting you are disconnected at any point or you're having bandwidth issues with your internet, there is the option to telephone into the meeting. You can use the toll-free number that's shown on your screen if you're disconnected or if you're choosing to join via the phone, and it's simply a better option for you. I'm going to read that number to you all. It's 646-558-8656. If you telephone in, you will need to include the meeting ID, which is 851-1963-5184, and the passcode is 252470. And finally, Zoom is generating closed captions for this meeting that should be showing up on the bottom of the screen. If you're seeing them and you want them to remain, great. If you're not seeing them and you want them to show for you, you can do so by clicking the button on your Zoom toolbar that says CC. If you don't see the CC button, click more, it's those three dots, and then you can select captions, and that will bring the closed captions up for you. To participate in today's meeting, as Jonathan mentioned, there's going to be a question and answer session and then polling questions throughout. Our goal is really to get feedback from everyone tonight. And so throughout the presentation, you can use the Q&A feature to submit your questions or comments. And at the close of the presentation, SHPO will respond to those questions and comments. And then the polling questions will be offered throughout the presentation. And I want to assure everyone that the responses to those questions are anonymous. To this point, in a moment, the next slide, we'll invite you to participate in our first polling question. To do so and to access the polling platform, click on the link that we've dropped in the chat, or you can use the QR code that's on the screen. Alternatively, you can add www.pollev.com/88 into your browser. I'm going to give you all a moment to navigate to the website, and then we'll get started with the first polling question. I'll turn it back over to Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate it. Okay, so let's have some fun and go to our first sort of intro high-level poll question. And that is, how do you feel, just overall, Connecticut is doing with preserving its historic resources? And we'll give everybody a minute to get their answers in. Okay, seem to be slowing down a little bit, but generally trending average or good. That's good. One needs improvement. We can always do better. Okay, I'm not entirely sure how much time you're going to have to answer these, but they're still coming in. That's great.
Jonathan, I'm just going to chime in. If individuals are having difficulty with,
Yes.
using the survey, please feel free to drop a note in the chat and we can receive it there.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. Well, it looks like we've got 25 responses already. A majority, average, or good. And we're going to take that. We're going to move forward, and we're going to work to make sure that next time around, these are all in the excellent category. Thank you very much for all those who participated. So I'm going to dive in here and just provide you all with a little bit of a background and introduction to what this statewide historic preservation plan is. Essentially, the statewide historic preservation plan is a federal requirement. The SHPO, our State Historic Preservation Office, we work very closely with the National Park Service, who oversees this program. And this is a requirement that is codified in the National Historic Preservation Act. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with that act, which dates to 1966. And this is the act that formalizes essentially the federal preservation program, creates the SHPO offices, the National Register of Historic Places, and several other key elements of what now is known as the Federal Preservation Program. And if you saw the photo on that intro slide, that was President Johnson signing the National Historic Preservation Act into law. So essentially what the National Historic Preservation Act says is it shall be the responsibility of the State Historic Preservation Officer to administer the State Historic Preservation Program and to prepare and implement a comprehensive statewide historic preservation plan. And going back to sort of my intro and talking about the importance of public input and engagement in this process, this next bullet really gets at the heart of that, which says, the plan itself is meant to encourage broad public and professional participation in planning for historic and cultural resources, meeting challenges unique to each state. Each state is obviously responsible for developing its own plan, and to influence historic preservation policy in state and local governments, inspire local communities, organizations, and individuals to action. And the last point here down at the bottom is an important one, because while the SHPO is responsible for taking the lead on developing the statewide plan, it is very important to know that it is not a plan for our office alone. It is a plan for the entire state. And it says that as statements of public policy, these statewide plans serve as a general guide for decision-making. While we take the lead, as I said, it's a result of extensive collaboration. The intent is that everyone involved in the process can adopt and implement the plan, be that at the local, state, or individual level. And we will move on from there. Next slide, please. So moving into sort of the nuts and bolts of the plan, just a little bit about what the plan consists of and what the sort of necessary pieces of the document are. The first is a summary of the planning process, and that is essentially where we are. This is putting together a detailed but concise review of the steps that we take to gather data, to analyze that data, to talk with our partners and the public, to develop goals and objectives for the future. And the next piece is a clear statement describing the planning cycle, and that is simply just the period that the plan will cover. We're envisioning this next plan covering the period from 2024 through 2029. The next piece is a summary assessment of our historic resources, and the next two bullets are sort of combined. This is essentially an assessment of the resources we have here in Connecticut, what issues they're facing, what threats they may be facing, but also what opportunities are being presented for their preservation. It looks at sort of a holistic look of our inventory of resources, the types of properties we have, other outside influences that may impact those resources, such as additional planning, such as the state emergency management plan, transportation plans, economic impact studies, or housing. They could all potentially impact preservation work in the state. And of course, feedback from stakeholders and the public. The next element of the plan is a vision statement. And this is for the entire state. And this flows from the issues that are identified through the planning process and also feedback gathered from the public and from our partners. And we have come up with a draft vision statement for this next period. And I believe Jenny will be sharing that with you in a few minutes. And finally, sort of the key piece of the plan is the goals and objectives section. You can think of the goals as sort of broad statements about future desired conditions. They may not be achievable in and of themselves immediately, but they're pursued through the objectives. You can think of the objectives as sort of reasonable, feasible, desired outcomes. The proposed objectives need to respond to the issues identified in the other sections of the plan, and they can be accomplished through accomplishing those smaller objectives. And we're going to go into this in a little bit more detail, and Jenny is going to walk you through the goals and objectives, both from our the previous plan, the one that we're wrapping up now, and also the draft goals we have for the next plan. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the timeline and where we're at in the process. Over the summer, we hired a FHI, who Tony works for, to manage our outreach and our public engagement strategy. We drafted vision statement and goals. And right now we are in the outreach phase of the plan, talking to the public, talking to our partners, and obviously holding meetings. And I'm going to go into a little bit more about what that public engagement plan entails here in a second. We envision that this will wrap up by December, and then January through March will be heavy writing work and just assembling the pieces that we've put together. We have to have a draft plan to the National Park Service by April. We will get feedback from them. We will use the month of May to incorporate any revisions that they propose. Any additional information they may need, and then the final plan will be due to the National Park Service by June of next year. Next slide, please. So as I said, we have developed sort of an outreach plan to guide how we gather data from our partners in the public. This is the first of two public meetings that we are planning, which will be virtual. The second one is planned for December 11th. We are also planning additional meetings to talk to both our preservation partner organizations and also to speak with public officials, primarily at the municipal level, where a lot of, obviously, preservation work happens. We are also rolling out today, I believe it's going live today, an on-demand survey where folks will be able to go in, learn a little bit about the plan, and also provide just great levels of feedback to the office and specific to what we're trying to accomplish in the plan. There will be a link to it provided. I think it may have just gone up in the chat at the moment. But yes, I would encourage everyone to please, when you have the opportunity, go in, take that on-demand survey. You can take it at your leisure virtually. It should take about 15 minutes or so, and will provide us with incredible feedback for the plan. After we've completed all of that, obviously we'll be working with FHI to analyze all the feedback that we've received through our polling questions, through our conversations, and through that survey. with that important information finally being incorporated into the final plan. Next slide, please. So, okay, my last slide here before I turn it over to Jenny is I wanted to talk briefly about the previous plan, which was called Shared Stewardship. This covered the period from 2018 to 2023. It was developed from 2017 to 2018, again, with extensive input from the public and our partners. This plan will expire June of 2025 as soon as we submit the new one to the National Park Service. And part of one of the key pieces of developing the new plan is analyzing the previous one to sort of assess where we made progress, where we still have work to do, where any gaps in data or knowledge may be, and also to assess how we did regarding our goals and objectives. So I am going to hand it off to Jenny, and she's going to take over and go through those goals and objectives from the previous plan, and also share our draft goals with you for our new one. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So we just wanted to share our 4 goals from the last plan, but also learn what's been happening in the state. So I'm going to introduce each goal, and then you'll see a polling question come. And what we're looking for is to find out if you were involved in doing something related to that goal. So we have 4 goals for both the last plan and this plan. Last time around, we were focused on stewardship of the state's resources and how we could work together in the stewardship. So goal 1 was to expand upon partnerships doing preservation work in Connecticut. And we wanted to grow the preservation network in the state and encourage people to become engaged in preservation issues, either through becoming involved in an organization, expanding a partnership yourself, or growing in a partnership. At SHPO, we worked a lot more closely with other state agencies on preservation issues. And we worked with new entities like the National Association of Olmsted Parks and Docomomo on special projects, and went a little bit outside of the folks we might normally work with. So we want to know if you have developed a partnership or partnerships for preservation work, please share that with us. And you'll have a minute or so to think about that, and we should see some responses come in. Again, if you're just joining us, you'll see the link in the chat to these polling questions. And this one is a little bit different. You'll see you have an opportunity to write a question here. Okay, I see that this one is very popular for responses so far. I'll give everybody a minute to type. We have some responses. People are working with local historical commission and society in Suffield. Someone is interested to see if there's possibility for future partnerships at the COG level. The COG would be the regional planning organization. We have staff with us from a local historic district. Oh, great. Somebody created an advisory committee to preserve the Gulbert and Bennett wire mill in Reading. People involved with historic tax credits. Great. I see some local activism coming in. Volunteer work at a historical society, collaboration with one of our national heritage areas. Great. Historic New England partnered with Northside Institutions, yep, a housing group. An engineering firm working with historic buildings and preservation architects. Nonprofit in Litchfield County's partnered for grants, still working on that. Okay. We'll give one more minute and I think we'll move on to the next goal. Yep, people are engaged with Preservation Connecticut. Good. The Circuit Rider program through Preservation Connecticut is a group that can come out and offer technical advice. Great, these are great responses. Okay, I think we'll move on to the next goal from the last plan. Okay. So we've been working on improving outreach and accessibility and information that's available with the goal of, again, fostering a preservation ethic and helping to educate people about programs that are available, but also the value of historic preservation in Connecticut. At SHPO, we've overhauled a lot of our systems to make them digital. We've put a lot more information online and changed most of our programs to digital submittal systems. We've also been doing an incredible amount of regular community meetings and educational programs, both virtually and in person. So the objectives, as you see, were to improve delivery of information, strengthen our outreach opportunities, and promote a historic preservation ethic. And again, this is a guide for activity we're hoping is happening throughout the state. So here's another polling question. If you have participated in or worked to enhance educational offerings about historic preservation topics, please tell us about it. So you could have been involved either as a participant or as an organizer of an event that helped teach about preservation. So give everybody a minute to type if you'd like to respond to that one. Somebody must have joined something in the last 5 years. Demonstrations of archaeology for the public. That's a good one. Greenwich Historical Society has some good events. Okay. Public schools. Private and public schools, I'm sorry. Walking tours. People serving as keynote speakers on this topic, climate control systems for historic buildings. That's a hot topic. Talks on historic preservation, architectural projects, and walking tours. Walking tours in Norwich. Lots more tours and open houses. lecturing. Yeah, I see a lot of activity aimed at engaging people who might not be involved in preservation every day, so that's great. Organize a Jane walk. Field trips for elementary schools. Okay, more lecture series, adaptive reuse, preservation and climate. Hosting the Vernacular Architecture Forum. Like the historical walk for parents. Freedom Trail. Bike tours. Great. I hope you all had good turnout and got to meet with some people you might not otherwise interact with. Okay, I think we have a pretty good response here. I think we'll go to the next goal. Okay. So this is a two-part goal. We aim to diversify both audiences, so who we're working with or responding to, and resources that we're documenting. So we're hoping to engage with more people, a larger variety of people that represent who is here in the state of Connecticut, and also to continue to identify new or underdocumented resources. So what we mean by that is those types of properties or historic places that are not as common or not as frequently recognized. In terms of resources at SHPO, we did a statewide survey of Olmsted firm landscape projects to see what landscapes were left in the state. We've been working on documenting moderns and postmodern, and we're always looking to engage more diverse audiences, have very robust Freedom Trail program, and also made an effort to diversify our boards and councils as well. So we'd like to know if you have engaged more diverse audiences for your organization, or if you've undertaken any efforts to identify underdocumented resources. We're keeping everybody awake tonight. Okay. Looks like we might have some more work to do here. Okay, Tony, I think we can go to the next goal. Okay. So Hurricane Sandy and the work that we were doing in the aftermath of that inspired us in the last plan to put some focus on developing a resiliency strategy for historic resources. As part of that, we wanted to increase our ability to respond to the effects of emergencies on historic resources. Part of that is being ready to go out and identify them or already know where things are, and have some plan in place to assist in protecting those in the case of an unexpected event. We work to integrate historic preservation into state and local planning initiatives and plans. And again, remembering that this goal is statewide, we wanted to encourage raising awareness about the effects of climate change on historic places and what kind of impact that has on our resources. And then, of course, we're always interested in learning about and promoting sustainability solutions for historic properties. So we'd like to hear from you. Please share any experience that you or your organization have had with addressing climate and sustainability concerns. And if you haven't had to deal with that yet, you can share that as well. We're interested to know what kinds of adjustments you might be making to your property or your programming related to climate issues. Okay, archaeological monitoring of urban bioswale construction in historic areas. Okay, some people are experiencing issues with the climate discussion. Some members are climate deniers. Rainwater and drainage as it affects a historic property. Let's see. Adaptive reuse rehabs aim to insulate interior walls. It's always a challenge to try to meet modern energy code and historic rehabs while meeting the standards. Yeah, that's something that is being discussed nationally by the National Park Service as well. I do see a couple other comments in the chat. If you're having trouble with the poll website, please let us know. Okay, so I think we'll move on to our new goals. Just wanted to share our draft vision statements. We'll be working on this and adjusting it as we go through the public meetings. And certainly if you have any other suggestions, feel free to contact us. I'll just read this. And again, this is a vision statement for the state, not just the SHPO office. A historic preservation ethic will be woven into the fabric of community life and will encourage Connecticut's residents to celebrate the importance of their own history while recognizing the economic, social, environmental, and educational benefits of preserving our historic places for future generations. I know this is a big statement. We are feeling in recent years an additional need to go back to that first slide Jonathan was showing and really promote why historic preservation is important. It seems ever more important right now to be advocating for historic resources. So just like last time, we have 4 draft goals for the new plan. They're similar, but a little bit different. The first one has to do with quality of life. So our goal is to enhance citizens' quality of life by preserving and revitalizing our historic places, ensuring they remain vibrant, accessible, and integral to the cultural and economic fabric of our society. So now we have some easier poll questions that you don't have to write in to answer. I hope you find interesting. So the question related to this goal is, do you think historic places are an important component of quality of life in a community? So we're coming in pretty strong with definitely. Give everybody a minute to answer that one. A pretty good response. A lot of people think that it is. Okay. So we can move on to goal 2. So similar to the last time, we feel that education is incredibly important. So our goal is to promote appreciation of our state's rich heritage through educational programs that foster a deeper understanding of the importance of preservation. So we'd like to know, do you think there are adequate educational programs that foster an understanding of preservation? And again, this is not just SHPO's programs, but anything that's available in Connecticut. Okay, so it looks like we have a lot of work to do here. We have some no's, some unsure. We're part of the way there. So that's really helpful to know. Okay. Okay, I think we can move to the next goal here. So the next goal is to foster active collaboration among government agencies, nonprofit organizations, educational institutions, community groups, and preservation partners to collectively protect our state's diverse history. So again, thinking about the preservation ethic, we want to encourage, cross-agency work, cross-community group work, to encourage preservation. So we'd like to know, where do you feel collaboration on preservation matters could be improved? So I'm sorry to ask for you to write in a response, but we'd like to know your opinions on where do you think we could do better collaboration. I'll give everybody a minute to think about that one. Better communication with local nonprofits and more outreach. See in the chat, work with schools and nonprofits and museums. More awareness, yes. Collaborating with preservation and history students, young professionals in colleges. Yep, collaboration with legislators. The state of Connecticut could help share information about organizations that exist and try to help connect nonprofits. Improve our presence in the state legislature in order to stop or modify bills harmful to preservation. Okay, someone is juggling between their board, national heritage areas, Council of Governments have an opportunity to promote regional preservation through strategic planning, more collaboration with other agencies, or awareness and youth incentive, collaboration between economic development groups, educating other professional groups, engineering and planning firms, council of government involvement, developers, engaging people through allied fields, yep, sustainability, housing, land conservation, collaborations with AIA and climate groups. This is all really helpful. And I think some of this gets into groups that, traditionally preservationists may not have worked with frequently, but it's becoming especially important now. Okay, I think we can move on to the last goal. So technology and data coming after COVID in the age of digitizing. Our goal is to utilize technology and data to enhance identification, documentation, and preservation of cultural resources, contributing to more efficient and equitable resource management. So we're looking to use technology and the data that's available now digitally as a tool to do some of our regular preservation work. So we'd like to know, how often are you using digital resources to advance your preservation work? So it could be social media, it could be webinars, could be online archives, databases like our new Congress. I've seen some interviews of architects online recently. Okay, so we have a lot of responses using digital resources daily. Some a little bit less. Thank you. I appreciate everyone's willingness to stay awake and contribute some feedback here.
Thanks, Jenny. So we've arrived at the question and answer portion of tonight's meeting, and we are eager to hear from you. So if you have a question for the State Historic Preservation Office, for Jenny, for Jonathan, for others on his team, please type that question into or comment into the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen. And if you have any difficulty with this, you can drop a note in the chat and our technical host will assist you. So we'll give you all a minute to share any questions or comments that you may have with the State Historic Preservation Office. Okay, and I'm seeing a question in the chat. Do I need to sign up for each upcoming session, or will you simply send us reminders?
There is a unique unique registration link for each meeting. So yes, you will need to sign up for each individual meeting, and we will make sure that we are sending those out as soon as possible. The next meeting on the schedule is for our preservation partner organizations, to be followed by the meeting for municipal officials in November. And then the second public meeting will be December 11th, and we will make sure that we have all that information up on our website and that we're sharing those links with folks.
And Jonathan, I just dropped a link to your website into the chat. So right now it
Perfect.
has the next public webinar.
Thank you, Jonathan.
And this will be updated over the course of the project. All right, great. We have some questions coming in. How would a member of the public find out about training opportunities offered by SHPO?
The best place would be either our website or check our newsletter. We have news and events that we post. We also have a mailing list that goes out. We do have a couple social media pages. that would probably be the best way. And if you're looking for any sort of specific training, please let us know. We'd be happy to try to set that up for you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Sure.
Next question. Jenny, I'm going to direct this question to you. Are the goals final?
No, the goals are here as a start to the plan, something for us to discuss and react to, but certainly if you have suggestions on those, we'd be happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And we will be adjusting the goals, as we collect feedback through this process.
Or if you have suggestions for completely different goals, you can send those in as well.
The question here, reasons as to why HRF grants only come in once a year now.
Sure. So SHPO had a prior to and leading up into COVID, SHPO had sort of gathered quite a reserve of funding, essentially. We had sort of a surplus of funding that we were able to give out on a revolving schedule, sort of monthly as applications came in. Essentially, what happened is we spent down that funding surplus. We are now on a budget for the HRF. We have unfortunately limited funding because it is funded by the Community Investment Act. But going to a yearly schedule allowed us to budget for that program and to make because of the limited funding, to allow that program to be a little bit more competitive.
Thanks, Jonathan. Another question pertaining to the goals. How have the goals changed from the last plan?
Well, I think the idea was to really kind of build off of the goals from the last plan. So where we were encouraging development of partnerships and new connections in the last plan, we're really sort of trying to take it to the next level with active collaboration. But also, as Jenny said, sort of taking a step back and sort of revisiting the basic argument or the basic tenet of why historic preservation is important to Connecticut and its residents. So we did a little bit of building off of the previous goals, but also some focusing on sort of getting back to basics and understanding why what we do is important.
Thanks, Jonathan. Do you anticipate any changes in your relationship with local COGS and DECD, especially regarding preservation of brownfield buildings or conversions for housing?
Can you read that one more time? I just want to make sure I got that correct.
Quickly, all right. Do you anticipate any changes in your relationship with local COGS and DECD, especially regarding preservation of brownfield buildings or conversions for housing?
I'm not anticipating any changes in that relationship with the COGS, and we are in DECD, so we work very closely with some of the other offices within DECD, including brownfields, CIF, and those different offices to ensure that they are taking historic resources into consideration through those programs. So we work very closely with them within DECD. I don't anticipate a substantive change in that relationship, no.
Yeah, I think the amount that we work sort of within the agency and with other state agencies maybe isn't as widely known as we are familiar with it. And in terms of the COGS, I think we are interested in growing our partnership with COGS and getting more engaged with COGS and also having the COGS help us disseminate some information in general.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Another question that was submitted through the Q&A, and then I'm going to jump to the chat. Are you lobbying for an increase in the annual state credit cap of 31.4 million statewide?
We are actively exploring that possibility, yes, and we're looking to potentially do that in the next legislative session. That is being discussed actively.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Sure.
Question from the chat. Will you circle back to us as you continue to develop the new plan? Will you circle back to participants in this meeting as the plan is developed?
We do not have an active plan at the moment to do that, but I think as we move forward in the public meetings, you may see this evolve over time. We can also post a draft, I would think, in the spring potentially, to give people another opportunity to review while we're drafting that document and submitting revisions to the National Park Service. I think that it might be a good idea to post a draft plan so that folks can have one more opportunity to provide comment.
And I would add that if you have, oh, sorry, Jonathan. I was just going to add that if you have other feedback you want to share, you want to be more engaged, just to contact us. I think Jonathan would be the primary contact for the plan right now. But if you want to have more involvement, you have other ideas you'd like us to think about, please do share, because that is the purpose of these meetings.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. I can't stress enough that this is only one opportunity tonight to provide feedback for this plan. We'll have the additional meetings. I do really encourage everyone to go in and check out the virtual survey. It will really provide you with an opportunity to provide really meaningful input to the plan. So, and then again, if for any reason you feel like you'd just like to have a conversation or reach out to staff to talk about the plan, provide any input, we're always here. Please do that. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Jonathan, I just wanted to acknowledge one comment here in the chat, just a desire expressed for some examples of successful ways to engage minorities. So that will I don't know that necessitates a response, but
okay.
It is noted.
Thank you.
And here we have a QR code that will bring you to the State Historic Preservation Office's website. We have a survey that Jonathan mentioned earlier that will be going live, an additional way for you to provide feedback. You could also navigate using this link.
Perfect. Are there still questions coming in, Tony?
Oh, no, I apologize. I should have.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, we've moved along. No, there were no more questions.
No worries.
No more questions.
Okay, well then I am going to just say thank you very, very much to everyone who participated tonight. I can't thank you enough. This is great. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again at future meetings regarding the plan. We will certainly provide you with an update when we can. And again, please go in and I encourage you to take that survey. Thank you all.